Am I the jerk for asking my brother-in-law why he went to his half-siblings for money when he knows they'd never help him? My sister Faye, who is 29 years old, is married to Jared, who is 30 years old. As long as we have known Jared, we knew he had half-siblings who had no relationship with him. He was open with us about his father having an affair that resulted in his birth, and the children from his father's marriage not liking him. He also mentioned that when his father passed away, because he was still married to their mother, only legally, apparently they no longer lived together, and Jared's parents were in a relationship, he inherited nothing from his father. Suing did not help either. Jared was about 13 years old when his father died. His contact with his half-siblings was basically over once his father had passed. He was aware their mother had given them the money from their father, and Jared was upset his half-siblings did not offer him anything from it, since he was also their father's son. Over the years, he has brought this up on occasion and has expressed some hurt, but also some anger that he was shunned, cut out, and treated like he was not also his father's son by his father's other children. Jared and Faye had some money issues, and it was a stress. It's dealt with now. Jared mentioned 2 weeks ago that he had tracked down his half-siblings to ask if they would be willing to help him out, given he never got anything from their late father and seeing as he is their sibling. Needless to say, they made it very clear he was not getting a single dollar from them. This came as no surprise to me when he said it, but he was so shocked and I guess angry about it. He rambled on for a bit, and I asked him why he went to them for money when he knew they would never help him in a million years. He flew off the handle and told me to stop being such an ass and that I have no idea what it's like being him. Faye tried to settle him, but he said I was being a rude jackass and judging him for being a decent person. He demanded an apology, and ever since then, he has been demanding apologies from me for being so negative to him. I'm genuinely confused by his actions, but maybe I was the asshole to ask. Am I the asshole? Sounds like he is the rude jackass for the way he talked to you and for harassing his half-siblings. As an adult, he should understand their point of view and respect their decision to keep their distance. Their father and his mother ruined the half-siblings' mom's marriage, and he is a reminder of all that heartbreak. No wonder they don't want him around if he only shows up when he wants something. Am I the jerk for changing my grown child's room into a room for my grandchild? I have 2 children, Kathy, who is a 29-year-old female, and Michael, who is a 25-year-old male. Kathy lives with me, pays a portion of the bills, and has no plans to move out anytime soon. We have our own business that we operate out of our home. It is easier for her to live here, and it is great because I have help with the bills. Michael lives about an hour away for work and has his own apartment. For a while, I kept Michael's room as it was. He has shared several times that he has no plans to move back home as his job is in the city he moved to. Kathy had a very close friend who has a 2-year-old daughter, Zoe. Her friend named Kathy her daughter's godmother as well as guardian should she pass. Unfortunately, that happened 6 months ago. Kathy's friend was a single mother, so Kathy was granted custody. At first, Zoe was sharing a room with Kathy as she had extreme separation anxiety. However, she is now ready for her own room. As our home is a 3-bedroom house, we do not have anywhere else to put her. When I told Michael what we were doing, I said I would get a pull-out for the living room, or I could get a daybed for my room when he visits overnight for holidays. I know rooming with your mom is not fun, but I want to give him options. He is mad that I gave the room to Zoe. He says that was his room. I said I understand, but he does not live with me. Kathy does and pays bills. She is even paying more now because she feels she is using more resources with Zoe living with us. I would feel different if Kathy and Zoe were moving out soon, but they are not. At this point, Kathy plans to adopt Zoe. I want to help her. My mother helped me raise my kids. Her mother helped her. It's in our culture to have a multi-generational household. Moving is not an option. I can make the space more private for Michael when he spends the night by using a divider in the living room. But as he usually only sleeps here 2 or 3 times a year, it just does not feel practical. I said if Michael ever needed to move home permanently, we would make something work, and I would also help him with his child if he were in this situation. He says he does not want kids. I said that is fine, but this is the situation at this moment. He feels Kathy should move out. I said I am not kicking her out just so he can have a room the few times he spends the night. Am I the asshole? I think you are not in the wrong here. Your needs have changed, and there's a valid reason to transform his old room into a room for Zoe. He's an adult living an hour away, so how often does he really stay there? It's not his room anymore, it was his room, and many people don't have a childhood bedroom to return to. Arrange your house as you want, and if he has a problem with it, he can find another place to stay when visiting. Would I be the jerk for giving my friend's $100 ticket to another friend if they're unable to use it? Hey y'all, I'm in a spat with a friend of mine, Sally. A few weeks ago, Sally, another friend, and I decided to go see one of our favorite comedians. We agreed on a date, I bought the tickets, and they each sent me the money for their ticket. The tickets were $100 each. Late last week, Sally told me she could not go anymore due to a scheduling conflict with her work that she had misscheduled. She asked if there was any way I could send her the $100 back. Because the ticket is non-refundable, I told Sally that I would send her the money back if someone else could buy the ticket from me, or if Sally could find someone to buy the ticket from her. Sally agreed that was fair. Now the show is the day after tomorrow and I have no takers. One friend, Jane, said she could go but could not afford the ticket right now. Jane said she fully understood if the ticket went to someone else who could pay, but she would be glad to come along if there were no takers by showtime and she did not have to pay. Jane even offered to drive us all and be the designated driver so we could drink at the show in order to contribute as best she could. I told Jane that if no one had bought the ticket by the day of the show, it could go to her so it would not be wasted. I followed up with Sally today to tell her no one has wanted to buy the ticket so far, and Sally said she has not had any luck either. I told her that if I could not sell it by the day of, I would give it to Jane, but that Jane could not pay. Sally says that in that case, I should send her $100 because I am giving away her ticket. I argued that someone should get the ticket if it is going to go unused, but Sally says it is her ticket, and if she wants it to go unused, then it should go unused. Or if she wanted to give it away, she should be the one to give it away. I asked if she would just give it away to Jane on the day of so it would not go unused, but she said no, it's the principle of the thing. She just hates the idea of her ticket that she paid for being given to someone else for free. Would I be the asshole if I just give away the ticket a few hours before showtime? Or am I actually stealing something that does not belong to me? In my opinion, you have done some things wrong here. If the ticket is non-refundable and Sally paid for it, it's hers to decide what happens to it. Giving it away to Jane without compensating Sally is essentially stealing. Either pay Sally the $100 or let the ticket go unused, but don't act like you have the right to give away something that isn't yours. Am I the jerk for following through with my late wife's wishes? I, a 49-year-old man, was married to my wife for 20 years. I lost her in a car accident 8 years ago. We had 2 beautiful daughters together, Maeve, who is now 18 and was 10 when her mother passed, and Alex, who is now 16 and was 8 when her mother passed. I am very close with my daughters, but they were both definitely mama's girls. My wife was a magnetic woman. She was beautiful, intelligent, kind, and people were drawn to her. An important thing to know about my wife is that she had a passion for writing. She was unfortunately in a profession where she didn't write much, so she did a lot on her own time. One of her favorite things to write was letters. She wanted people to know that she cared about them. After she had each of my daughters, she wrote them a letter. She wrote each within days after their births and wanted to give them away on their graduation days. She put them in the firebox in our basement to avoid losing or forgetting about them. She wrote the letters with the intention of giving them to our daughters herself, 18 years later, as a sort of time capsule type of thing. Both letters contained mostly words of wisdom and information about what was going on when they were born. Maeve graduated from high school today, and I went to her room with the letter tonight. I let her cry on my shoulder as she read it, and at first, she seemed happy to have something directly from her mother. However, after she read it, she turned to me looking surprisingly angry. She asked why I had waited so long to give it to her. She had so many rough moments and heartbreak in the last 8 years where all she wanted was her mother's wisdom, and I withheld the letter. I told her that I was just doing what her mother had said she wanted, and Maeve shot back that her mother also hadn't planned on being in the accident. Alex heard the shouting and came into the room, and Maeve told her about the letter. Now they're both upset and don't want to talk to me. I feel so awful about this whole situation. I was raised by my single mother after my own dad took off. On one hand, I've always wanted to be the best father I can, and I feel terrible that I withheld something that would have brought them comfort. On the other hand, my wife had very specific instructions about her intentions with the letters, and I just wanted to follow through with that. So now I'm very conflicted, and I just want to know, am I the asshole? There are no jerks here, OP. Your wife wrote those letters with a specific intent and voice appropriate for the young woman your elder daughter is now, not the young children they were 8 years ago. It's understandable that your daughters are upset because this dredged up a lot of heavy emotions, but there's no reason to assume they would have understood or appreciated these letters when they were younger. You were just trying to honor your wife's wishes in this matter. Give them a bit of time and space, and hopefully they'll come around once they've had time to sit with all this for a bit longer. Would I be the jerk if I told my sibling about a text their spouse sent? Hi everyone. I'd like to get a difficult situation off my chest and would really appreciate an outsider's thoughts too, especially since I have a pre-existing negative perception of the person in question and want to try to take the best course of action here, rather than act based just on my emotions. My brother, who is a 20-year-old male, and I, who am a 25-year-old female, live with our mother, while my sister, who is a 40-year-old female, lives with her spouse and their 14-year-old son. My brother, sister, and I all work for the same company, so she gives us a ride to work every morning. We live 5 minutes away from our job, and our home is on the same route my sister takes to get to work. Additionally, my sister gives us a ride back. My sister and I come out at 4:30 p.m., and my brother comes out at 5:30 p.m. My sister and I leave together, go to my house, and walk my dogs together while catching up on how the day has been until my brother comes out. Once it is 5:30, she leaves to get my brother, drops him off, and then heads home. My mother also sends her food she cooks for her family since my sister ends up arriving home around 6:00 p.m. Things have been this way for about 2 months now. Last night, my sister's husband sent a lengthy text, of which the main points were, my mother should stop sending food since my sister is the one that needs to cook for them. My brother and I should get our own car and be driving ourselves to and from work. My mother has a pickup truck, but I am personally not comfortable driving it and cannot afford my own vehicle at this time. I use Uber if my sister or mother are not able to help with transportation. It is not my sister's responsibility to help walk our dogs. We are making their household non-functional. My mother is telling me not to tell my sister about this to avoid an argument between her and her husband, but I feel like my sister is going to be hurt and wonder what she did wrong if we suddenly start going to work separately from her, no longer have our walks in the afternoons, and stop sharing food with her. Would I be the asshole for giving her context? You are not in the wrong here. Definitely tell your sister about the text and ask if everything is okay at home. Her husband's comment about her needing to cook feels controlling, and she deserves to know what he's telling her siblings. It sounds like he might be trying to control and isolate her, so it's important to have an open conversation about your work and transportation situation. Am I the jerk for financially bigfooting my in-laws? I'm a 39-year-old male and am a few years older than my wife, who is a 32-year-old female. We met 5 years ago at very different phases of our lives. I finished university at 19 years old, lucked into a great position in finance, and became a partner at my firm, making me quite wealthy at a young age. My wife went through several changes of heart about her career path, involving 2 advanced degrees, through which her parents supported her. She had only recently started her first full-time professional job when we met. Her parents' financial support engendered a belief on their part that she ought to pay heed to their wishes. While my wife found this behavior bothersome, she is conflict-averse and mostly acceded to their demands. Her parents offered to pay for our wedding. It quickly became clear that they felt their contribution entitled them to make most of the choices, including the guest list, none of which were congenial to my now wife. The conflict clearly wore on her, so I told her parents that we appreciated their kind offer, but that we would pay for the wedding ourselves. Perhaps having judged my financial situation by my modest lifestyle, they claimed we were risking our finances nearly to have our way. I just laughed and said that wasn't a worry. We ended up having a swanky destination wedding with accommodations on us, for our friends and close family only. After we got married, we experienced the same issues. For example, my mother-in-law inherited a beach house and insisted that we spend our vacations there at a particular time to coincide with my sister-in-law, even though the dates were convenient neither to us nor my sister-in-law. When my wife pointed this out, her mother's response was that it would be difficult to accommodate us at other times, as they had set plans with friends over the course of the summer. Since she and my father-in-law were generously opening their house to us, we needed to conform to her schedule. Not again. I had been thinking about getting a summer place myself, so I bought one in my wife's favorite area. It happens to be bigger and nicer than my mother-in-law's. My mother-in-law reacted peevishly to the news, claiming that we were spitefully bankrupting ourselves to show her up, and that vacations should be spent with family. I replied that, as to the latter point, they were welcome to come spend time with their daughter and son-in-law on dates convenient for us. As to the former, I said that while I consider it gauche to talk about money, she should rest easy about our finances, as the new place amounted to less than my last year's partnership distribution. I also mentioned that they would be wise to stop trying to exert control with money, since to do it successfully requires an actual fortune, and not just the memory of one as embodied in a broken-down beach house. My mother-in-law called me a jerk. I realize I spoke pretty harshly, but I think I was justified. You are not in the wrong here. You handled that situation perfectly. It's not her business what you spend your money on or how much you have. She started it and you finished it. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.